Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. It is my pleasure and my privilege to be here practicing with you today. On Wednesdays, we have been exploring this book by Roshi Joan Halifax called Standing at the Edge. And we have slowly been making our way through this book, looking at and exploring some of Roshi Joan's really impeccable wisdom regarding getting to know ourselves, getting to know how we engage with the world, particularly when we are stressed, when we are overwhelmed. Roshi, like many Zen practitioners, engage and have a relationship with Buddhism with social justice. Roshi studied with Thich Nhat Hanh and was very curious about how can we bring Buddhism into situations of social justice and injustice. And one of the ways that Roshi is really sensitive to is regarding healthcare and the way people experience compassion fatigue, empathetic distress, and burnout. And during the pandemic, she had lots and lots of public health people coming to talk at Upaya, people who worked in the realm of ethics and really trying to address the needs of healthcare workers who were extremely taxed by the demands and the lack of leadership that was going on throughout the pandemic. What we've been exploring for the last couple of weeks in a new chapter that we have begun together is engagement as an edge state. And the edge state concept is a way of looking at yourself, all the ways that you can get over-involved and over-engaged, for example, and burn yourself out, exhaust yourself, start feeling a little bit resentful and martyry. That's an edge state. That's the state of engagement where you realize, oh, I've gone over. How do I get back? On the other side of engagement is when we become too complacent and apathetic, where we don't engage. We don't take risks. We allow maybe the fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, the fear of being judged, to limit our engagement. And in that place, we don't grow. We can cultivate the habit energy of believing inflated and distorted thoughts and stories. So the edge state is this willingness that we have to kind of wander our behavior, not going overboard, but not being too under-involved that we don't challenge ourselves. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about this concept of wholeheartedness. To engage with your life wholeheartedly is one way to increase and improve one's capacity for joy, to be wholehearted. But in order to do that, to really examine what does it mean to be wholehearted, what I've done is I've taken that word whole and I've invited us to look at it from the black and white point of view, so that our wholeheartedness has space for all the things about us, all the qualities about our engagement that are positive, and all the qualities of our engagement that are negative, that are shadowed, that are maybe not so skillful. And when we can bring both of those qualities together, accept both of those qualities within us, that's when we have the capacity to become truly a whole human being and come to whatever we're engaging with a whole heart. The thing we're engaging, friends, is our recovery. To be wholehearted in our recovery is to know that we're going to make mistakes. This isn't to make excuses for ourselves. This is simply to address that voice in our head, that inner critic that is militant, harsh, and maybe even violent in its shaming. That voice that's constantly telling us you need to be perfect. You need to get this right. What's the matter with you? And to simply look at that voice and say, hey, wait a second. I'm not here to get this perfect. I'm here to practice. What's the matter with me? I don't know. What's the matter with you? I may be doing a whole bunch of things that are wrong. That's true. What else is true? What are all the things that I got right today? I may have a voice that erupts in my mind every time a craving arises, and I feel threatened and insecure by it. Having a craving is bad, the inner critic likes to say. And you know that might be true, and it's not the whole truth. The truth is, having a craving is really uncomfortable, and it can be threatening. And I have a practice that enables me to stand before that craving and breathe through it. I do not have to engage my habit energy. This is being wholehearted on the journey of recovery. Today, I'd like to read for you a little story that Roshi shares about an example. It's actually quite an extraordinary example of wholeheartedness. Roshi writes, "How is it that the same work will burn out some people and not others?" I was inspired by the story of a family who seems only heartened by a vocation that few of us could handle. In 2012, Corey Salchert and her husband Mark began adopting what they call hospice babies, babies with life-limiting conditions. The Salchurches already had 8 biological children of their own, but they felt called to take in these babies whose parents had given up, unable to cope with their complex care or with witnessing the end of their child's life. A former perinatal bereavement nurse based in Wisconsin, Corey Salchert had the experience to take this on. She also had the heart. The first hospice baby her family adopted was a nameless 2-week-old girl who was born with severe brain abnormalities. They named her Emma Lynn. She lived for 50 days before she died in Corey's arms. Emma Lynn lived more in 50 days than a number of folks do in a lifetime, Corey said. Next, the family adopted Charlie, an 18-month-old on life support. Despite all of his equipment, the family took him on excursions whenever they could. He will die. There's no changing that, Corey told the newspaper. But we can make a difference in how he lives. And the difference for Charlie is that he will be loved before he dies. Theirs is a story of altruism and also of courage, selfless engagement. The Salchert family truly swims in the waters of life, even as they bear witness to dying and death. How does this remarkable family manage without burning out? Corey speaks of her family's strong sense of purpose and the power of their Christian faith. They also have each other. The whole family has opened to this practice of unconditional love and connection, factors that keep burnout at bay. I recall often these words of the great Sufi poet Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. What this family has done for these dying children is beautiful, and this kind of beauty is not separate from wholeheartedness. Now, friends, before any of you be bombarded by an inner critic that are like, well, that's all fine for them. I mean, they're amazing. I'm just me trying to recover from drugs and alcohol. That's not a big deal. That's not very altruistic. Ho, 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 my friends. It's amazing. What an extraordinary act of courage and self-respect and love to explore your own habit energy, the triggers you may encounter, the emotional trauma that you've endured. Understanding these things with loving kindness, compassion, maybe even joy, brings about freedom. Freedom to open up to your resilience, your strength, maybe a newfound devotion to doing less harm to self and others. Maybe a commitment and a desire to be of service to others. These are extraordinary, wholehearted, altruistic efforts as a result of your wise actions. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There are hundreds of ways to express your wholeheartedness. Roshi, earlier in this story, wrote, the practice is unconditional love and connection. Connecting with ourselves in a true and honest way. Putting down the sticks that we've been beating ourselves over the head with. Inviting others to put down their sticks too. They don't have to shame us. They don't have to guilt trip us. The social stigma of substance use disorder comes with a very big stick. And we can wholeheartedly encourage people to put it down We can put a flower in the end of a rifle. But it takes courage and presence and confidence to do that. We may shake, our voice may quake, and we do it anyway. Coming to this meeting is an example of that. Listening to the recordings is an example of that. Looking at your reactivity is an example. When we know and see ourselves as we truly are, and we meet ourselves and connect with ourselves with a whole heart, we begin to see others just like me. We begin to meet others, connect with others just like me, with a whole heart. This is the practice of discovering and recovering bodhicitta, the soft, wounded heart that will heal the world. Friends, let's end our practice with a little breathing mantra. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Just lovingly watch yourself breathe miraculously this life. Breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. This precious present moment. I am here. And that is enough. In fact, it's a miracle. Let's go ahead and end our practice with a dedication of merit. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. If we take that statement and we take it literally, what Rumi is pointing us toward is how each of us kneels is going to look different, because we all look different. We're all different. We're different body habitus. Our kneeling will appear different. Our kiss to the ground will appear different. And yet the sentiment is exactly the same. The sentiment connects us. One of the habit energies that many of us have is the fear of doing something wrong. And we don't quite trust ourselves, the way we're doing it, the way I'm kneeling. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it like other people? What Rumi, and certainly what the Buddha was teaching, is it doesn't matter. On a deep level, we know that. How you kneel, how you kiss the ground, how you practice the Dharma, how you show up to your journey of recovery is perfect. It needs to be how you do it, and you alone. We need you to express the Dharma alive in you and through you as you. The world needs me to express the Dharma through me, with me, in me, as me, and no one else. It takes courage to embody that completely. It takes risk and practice. But I want you to hear that there are 100 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There are millions, billions of ways to express the Dharma. May we see it in one another. May we celebrate it in one another. May we feel it, and may we all be healed in connection and care. Thank you so much for your beautiful practice, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.